Can you hear that? That's the sound of, some construction and I think an airplane and a lot of excited kids running around here in New York City because, well, they have every reason to be excited. Halloween is, depending on how you look on it, either upon us or right around the corner. We've got some spooky days ahead of us, and we begin down that little path in this episode of Miracles in Manhattan, which I'm really excited to be telling you about because this is the first episode that Stephanie and I have recorded and released within a few days after that recording, which is to say we are now kind of live and have run out of backup episodes. It also means that you can, for reals now, hit us up with questions and comments at miraclesinmanhattan@gmail.com or our website, nameoftheshow.com, miraclesinmanhattan.com. Anyway, we do hope to hear from you, and we are going to. I don't want to overpromise, but there's a little hauntedness in this episode here. See if you can find it, and I do. I think I can promise at least some horrifying, bone-chilling bonus material to be released between now and October 31st, the greatest day of the year, if you ask me. That's it. Keep living your okayest life, and we will talk to you soon.
I'm upset because I see a meaningless world.
Welcome back to Miracles in Manhattan. My name is Marco, and I'm here with the Reverend Stephanie Wild. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Marco. So nice to be back where we belong.
Where we belong in real time.
Yay!
Yes, in 2019, recording. Exciting.
Right, so this is lesson 12.
Mm-hmm.
And lesson 12 says, I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. So if you remember back at lesson 5, we found out that we are never upset for the reason we think. And then lesson 6 told us that we are upset because we see something that's not there. And if you remember, all the lessons were telling us and showing us that we're seeing our thoughts. We're seeing the projections. We're seeing what we think about things. We're not seeing things as they really are. We're seeing the past because all we're seeing is our own thoughts.
Right.
So, lesson 12 tells us that these thoughts that we're projecting, this world that we're creating, is meaningless, and that's why we're upset.
Mm-hmm.
So before we actually...
you said that was 11. That tells us that.
This is 12.
Okay.
12.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, I mean, lesson 11, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Lesson 12, I'm upset because I see a meaningless world.
Okay, got it.
It's incremental steps, right?
Yeah, sometimes it I forget that these are almost one. Each chapter is one thought that naturally follows another.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, if you're getting it, you know, maybe you're way ahead. But we still just practice. We just practice. And so before we actually do the exercise, I want to go to the text, and it's page 633, because I think this is a really great example of how this works. So I was just saying, we're creating our own experience of the world. We're creating this meaningless world for ourselves out of our thoughts. And this is the text talking about it. The wearying, dissatisfying gods you made are blown-up children's toys. A child is frightened when a wooden head springs up as a closed box is opened suddenly, or when a soft and silent woolly bear begins to squeak as he takes hold of it. Right?
I like it.
It's like suddenly like, oh, yeah.
Right.
I've created my own Jack-in-the-Box world that's scaring me.
Yes, it was a Jack-in-the-Box they were describing, and it is scary.
Yeah. So it goes on to say, so the child, the rules he made for boxes and for bears have failed him and have broken his control of what surrounds him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he was expecting one thing, and bam, a scary head pops up.
I understand. Okay.
Right? So he's afraid because he thought the rules protected him. He thought he understood. But no.
Is that to say that
go
you
ahead.
thought that essentially this was a box that made some music when you turned a crank?
Yeah.
And instead there's a horror show inside?
Yes,
Got it.
exactly.
Been there.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So now he must learn the boxes. So now now he must learn the boxes and the bears did not deceive him, broke no rules, nor mean his world is made chaotic and unsafe. He was mistaken. He misunderstood what made him safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is a good lesson for the spookiest month of the year.
Ooh, yeah.
October.
Scary Jack-in-the-Box or clowns.
Yes.
Scary clowns.
Lots of clown things happening. Yeah, we can tangent to that later. I'm acting on resolutions to manage my tangential contributions to the show.
I think they're
Streamline them.
great. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Because
It's true.
Everyone's life is a series of tangents.
It's true. And I get a lot of feedback, though. The predominant feedback is great show.
Hmm.
You don't seem to listen to Stephanie.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm speaking to those people right now. That's you. I am listening. I'm also working with the computer and the sound things. So I am of two minds, literally. Not Wallace Stevens style. So, but yeah, committing a little bit better. So that's pretty great.
Well, let's do the exercise, and then we can go back to your horror show of a life where you said you said you've been there.
I have, and I'll tell you what. Here's a thought I had as you were saying that. We'll try it out, perhaps. I'll say at the top of this episode, based on what you just read, what I'm hoping to find out by the end, or figure out by the end. So, I want to, at the end of this podcast, this episode, understand why it is that my thoughts, being what they are, upsets me. So we know, yes, my meaningless thoughts from a meaningless world. We know now that this upsets me. Why does this upset me? I'd like to know. And yes, the Jack-in-the-Box example is pretty good.
Because the world's not following the rules that you expected. Your expectations aren't being met. Okay. Now there's a deeper metaphysical reason, but that's it in the context of this exercise.
Right.
So this exercise is done with eyes open. Okay, so you're going to do it, right? You're going to listen to me and do it.
that was okay. It's a one time only, but yes.
I know. Okay, look around you quite slowly. Try to pace yourself so that the slow shifting of your glance from one thing to another involves a fairly constant time interval. All right, so look around, and as you look around, say to yourself, I think I see a fearful world, dangerous world, hostile world, whatever feelings and thoughts come up. And they can even be positive terms. You might even think, well, I see a good world or a satisfying world or a funny world. And that's okay, because good implies bad, safe implies unsafe. It doesn't matter. We don't discriminate. All terms which cross your mind are suitable.
Okay.
Okay. So then when you've done that, then you say to yourself, but I am upset because I see a meaningless world.
Is this an exercise to be done around people or around the things around you?
I think it's things, but I think you can do it with people too. As long as you say to yourself, I think I see a mean world, not a mean person.
Mm-hmm. So let me expand on that then. Is there a difference between doing this to a wall full of things that you don't see every day and a wall full of things that you do?
That's a great question. I think that if the exercise is really challenging and confronting and kind of upsetting, I would do it with things that you don't see every day.
Sure.
But if you're, brave
Yeah.
and really into it, then go for it and do it with things that are really going to make you feel something.
Sure. I mean, that for me is right away the interesting thing about recording today versus episode 5, I believe it was, one of those, which we did a year ago.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the objects are the same in this room, but some aren't. But they have, different associations now. And sometimes border on having no real associations, which is pretty cool too.
No real associations anymore. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or just straight. I mean, like the intercom never had any associations. It's just part of the apartment, right? But yes, some things have been. What would be a word for this?
Diluted.
Devalued. And by which I mean, and I don't. That's not a judgment. The positive or negative value has been subtracted.
Yeah.
And they are approaching neutrality. Other things have shifted.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think they have?
Because I change.
You changed?
I mean, these objects haven't changed. I think that I've let go of. Yeah, I've let go of the context around which I acquired. And we're talking, by the way, about like paintings and shit, or art and stuff.
So you've let go of
the original context around which, in some cases, I created it. If it's stuff that I drew or made, right? That's not going to help anybody. Or the sort of the sentimentality with which certain things represent. Yeah.
So is that a function of time, or is it a function of you changing regardless
That's a very good
of
question,
time?
Stephanie, because also in this room there's things that I have. Okay, so there's things in this room that I've probably done some not so conscious and maybe some conscious work on reevaluating, right? And then there's other stuff here that I haven't up until a few months ago seen for 15 or 10 years because a little while back somebody brought me, I think I told you, a case of my own books back from the Midwest after he stopped into a bar I used to work at, and they were sort of giving them away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you leave a place like a thief in the night, your books may end up in a bar attic until one day some guy from the Brooklyn Poetry MFA program is having a beer and decides to drive him back to you.
Yeah, my vinyl collection ended up in
that's a great example.
Someone's right? living room in Mountain View.
Yeah.
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 So
those things, I mean, are...
Is it time, or that you've changed, or both, or different for each?
The things that... So those books, for example, I mean, I've forgotten almost, in many cases, the sort of... the sentiments, the moments, the smell of the air, the year I got that book. Like, that's kind of just faded. So I would say that's just time in many cases. Then you open it up and you read an inscription, and it's like fucking Jack in the Box, depending on what
Mm-hmm.
X gave it to you.
Okay, so let me just say a couple of things here. So you said a little while ago, I've let go of the sentiments and whatever. And that's the language that we use when we talk about forgiveness.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Why don't you tell us about
you
that?
let go when you let go of something, right? You let go of trauma, you let go of resentment, you let go of anger.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're doing, because that is the process by which we see the world as it really is. It's forgiveness in the context of the Course in Miracles. That's forgiveness. It's not letting someone off the hook. It's not pardoning them. It's not showing mercy to someone. It's living free of anger and resentment, living free of the sentiments that imprison us.
Right.
So you've just said exactly what we're doing here.
I have a question. Hi.
And then, so the other thing I wanted to mention, you talked about time. Sometimes it's time.
Oh, but I had a question about letting go.
Oh, go ahead.
Right. So in your paradigm of forgiveness, or forgiveness in general, do you think that letting go is something that you must do actively, or can it be done passively? Does it just happen? You see what I'm asking?
I do. Okay. And that's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Typical male behavior.
Well, could be that I'm psychic.
That's awesome. That is my get out of jail free card on this podcast. No, we didn't talk over her. She knew what he was going to say.
So time, right? Time passes, and I think that's more of a passive kind of letting go.
All right.
Right? But here, we're learning to let go instantly, and that is a conscious, active process. So you don't have to wait 10 years to get over a divorce. You don't have to, wait a year to get over the death of your mother. You can do it instantly. You just let go because your thoughts have created the meaning, and you don't need to believe your thoughts. You don't need to see the past anymore.
I can imagine someone saying that at my mother's funeral, to throw away the thoughts that are making me feel bad is to sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, to throw away my feelings about my mother.
Yeah.
If I did that, what would you say to that?
So?
Well,
I think what you're implying is that it's disrespectful, or you become cold or an automaton or something.
No, I'm implying that my sadness at that funeral is authentic in some way, and so that and that it is, and that if I let go of my thinking, I will be.
Dare I say, serene?
Yeah, that's how I'll feel. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. This is more radical than I was expecting.
It's a radical spiritual text. And it says at the top of this lesson 12, page 19, it contains a correction for a major perceptual distortion.
And what is that distortion?
Well, what we were just talking about, that we think we see a meaningless world, but we're not seeing the world. We're seeing our thoughts.
Gotcha.
And we think we're upset because we see a meaningless world, but we don't.
Why are we upset? Because we see our meaningless thoughts instead.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we're caught up in a world of our own making. It doesn't follow the rules that we want it to, like the Jack in the Box.
The Jack in the Box remains the best example so far.
I thought so too. That's why I wanted to bring it up from the text. Yeah. So, what's your horror story of a life?
Of a life? No.
Well, no. You said you've been there.
I think. Well, yeah, sure. Okay, so the language that the writer of this book was using was very typical of the times. I mean, this sort of like, in certain ways, like her attempt to simply describe a Jack in the Box reminded me of the fucking Big Book. Like in the way I can like, here's 2 sentences to describe I don't know, putting on my pants or whatever it is. So I was really listening hard. And then it built up this expectation that it's something more than a Jack in the Box, which is a meta lesson right there, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow, once I figured out it was a Jack in the Box, then she went on to what we would call a teddy bear, I think.
Yes, yeah.
But I was now in the world of trying to like really put it together, so I was thinking like, oh, this is a Teddy Ruxbin model, but that's not consistent with when this book was. Do you know what that is, by the way?
No, I don't.
Okay, sorry,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so it was a toy
okay.
from the 80s. It was a very large teddy bear, a couple of feet tall, and I don't know what the size of what I think a koala is the size of. How about that?
This big?
Yeah, bigger. I guess I think koalas are a little undersized.
Well, drop bears are...
You're not going to get me with this. I know about
really
drop
huge.
bears. You'd like to know about drop bears.
Send us an email.
Yeah, hit Stephanie up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Black Koana. Anyway, it was kind of like a inappropriately big teddy bear. Kind of like, yeah, so it was bigger than probably I don't know. It was bigger than some kids who might own it. Anyway, point is, it was animatronic.
Oh.
In a very basic sense.
Uh-huh.
In that, like, it had a tape recorder with a magnetic tape, cassette tape that you would put in, and it would...
Now you're doing exactly what...
Well, now, you know what that was? That was me compensating for, like, the gen... Yeah, and then recompensating for also the greatest generation. I don't know. Anyway, you'd put a tape in the back of the bear and its mouth would move, not exactly in sync with whatever it was saying.
Right.
Point is, my brother owned lots of this sort of thing. And so I had a lot of exposure to things that on the surface look like what they are. That's a teddy bear. And the moment you interact with it or walk by the room while someone is, it's
horrifying.
Horrifying because for me, as a child, I grew up with this, what I later pretty quick actually figured out was this terror of lifelike or living, but lifelike things that don't. And this is how I used to remember thinking about it, that don't have a soul.
Ooh.
Right.
Well, you know what? There's a name for that. It's called the uncanny valley.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
and
that's...
it's horrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
But the uncanny valley, I mean, yeah. I guess when you're of a certain age, a Teddy Ruxpin, can be... Doesn't have to look like a real bear.
Right. Yeah. No. It's in that valley for sure. But I mean, the way it's described in the book, the way that this Jack in the Box is described in the book is making the point, as you said. Mm-hmm. Because, if they just said, oh, it's like a Jack in a Box, you think it's a box and then there's a thing that pops out of it. It wouldn't have had the same effect as... What's going on? What are they describing? A box? Oh, because it puts you into the mindset of having expectations about something and then something that goes against the rules that you've arbitrarily set for the world.
Yeah. And you know what? On the real, you can make that metaphor a little bit more contemporary or a little bit more tangible by simply doing 2 things.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a Jack in a Box on this table. We know what it is.
Right, we now know what it is.
We do. And one of us turns the crank and something really unsettling pops out. I mean, really unsettling.
Right,
you fill in the blank, whatever it is.
Your worst fear, like, what room number is it from 1984?
Oh, boy. 2 + 2 = 5. I don't know, but that is... I made a sort of pact with myself to never tell even... my closest loved one ever, my deepest fear, for that reason.
For that reason, yeah, like it might happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
Why would I bother?
Ooh.
Yeah. I will reveal that on episode 366
because we live among them.
Of this podcast. What's that?
We all know it's not rats for anyone who lives in New York.
No, it's not that. Although a bag of rats on your head. But yeah, Chuck Norris can handle it, so can I. But no, I mean, it doesn't even have to be something unreal. Yeah, it could be daggers. It could be... So there's that. So something that would unsettle you as an adult because of your expectations of what should come out of a Jack in the Box, right? Or to make the metaphor even more everyday, this is what a content warning is.
Oh.
This is not. There's Jack in the Box in this story I'm about to tell. When
And
I
you
turn
may
the
not
crank,
understand.
something that you may not like is going to pop out.
Mm.
So I'm going to prepare you by giving you by narrowing down the set of things that it could be while not naming it.
Mm.
Not all content warnings.
That's a great example because yeah, we can neutralize those triggers by adjusting our thoughts in the way that the Course in Miracles is teaching us. And we'll no longer need trigger warnings because there's actually only words on that page or that blog, that website. There's really nothing that can hurt you except your own thoughts.
The difficulty there, and this is that maybe you get into questions of consent because the person hearing the story is not
A student of A Course in Miracles or whatever.
Or whatever you want.
Sure. I mean, I'm not advocating one way or the other, but...
Yeah.
But that is the way we can take control of our experience of the world so that it doesn't upset us.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool. And this is why you should not go to sleep at night, worrying about what the next day has in store for you. To an extent with certain things, because how do you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Because, your expectations aren't going to keep you safe, like it said in this little example here.
And your dread is not going to tell you what's actually in the box either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Dun, da, da, da. I think our work here is done.
Okay, until very soon, this has been me, Marco, and you,
Stephanie Wild.
Thanks for listening. Talk soon.